relation to transmission and distribution. It's possible.
Right.
So it depends how you orchestrate that whole system and the model. But I mean, we have the IPPs. They've been a good model. Many people will say they've been a bit expensive, but I think the price of renewable energy has gone down quite substantially now. So you potentially have a new possibility of having something good. And I think you have a whole range of other instruments. I mean, that you could access the climate fund and so on and so on. For me, the big issue is execute.
Right.
Stop talking. Just go out and do it.
How long do you think, I mean, with favourable winds, political determination by the government, how long do you think it would take to get Eskom back on track, getting reliable power supplies to the big industries in the country and the consumer base?
Look, I mean, you don't. I mean, again, you have to restructure industries also. I mean, you don't want kind of your smelters and everything else. You need to think carefully about that side also, how you manage that side. My sense is that I don't think it's going to take long. I mean, you just need consensus and you put good executors, your process will kick in. Because once you start it, you build confidence. Automatically. And building confidence then enables you to move faster in the implementation. So
even within Ramaphosa's first term, he could end up with a substantially better Eskom?
No, you can. I mean, if in the next months, a few months, you have a proper pronouncement from government around Eskom, the rest is like...
So you've talked about this sort of almost a fake debate about privatization and state-owned enterprises in South Africa. I mean, one target people talk a lot about is South African Airways, and some people are saying, just sell it, get out of it completely, it's a mess. Others are saying, actually, it's worthless. I mean, there's no point in trying to sell it. You've got to restructure. Where do you sit on that one?
Again, I mean, I'm saying, at least think about what do you want to achieve. That's what must drive the discussion. What is it that you want to achieve?
What if it's a cut in the drain on the treasury is pretty important.
And my attitude has always been that around Eskom, again, SAA. Again, you could have a model. Because, I mean, I understand the apprehension about state assets moving into private. And I mean, South Africans have gone through that period.
Sure.
I mean, because literally, I mean, if you're saying that Eskom was anything during the last couple of 10 years, it was nothing. I mean, the benefits were accruing to one family. And that's the reality. I mean, so the apprehension is understandable. Because it was not privatized in name, but in reality it was. I mean, in the sense that they would appoint boards, they would put and so on and so. So the apprehension is understandable. And I'm saying you can't trample on that apprehension and say dismiss it. So all what I'm saying is that if you take the case of SAA, I would again still say that there is a sense, in fact, urgency for government to think about finding a strategic partner, to partner with government in operations and management of this thing, even if government maintains ownership, but at least in the operations, create an operational structure that allows private sector to invest and that allows capacity from the private sector to be used, etc., etc. And that becomes the structure that actually drives efficiency, it drives revenue, it drives value into the thing, and it drives growth in the thing. So you could have all sorts of mechanisms around this thing. And all what I'm saying, it's a call for innovation and creativity around these things, not being stuck in all debates.
What are the other big targets that the government should be looking at in terms of state investments and how to
look, I mean, for me, I still feel strongly that we need really to explore this. We are in a typical middle income trap as a country. So we can't compete in high productivity, high skill sectors. Largely because of education and other things, we can't compete at that level. Nor can we compete at low skill production and low production and low skill production because we are not competitive in that sector, in that area, because of a whole range of things, including notwithstanding, amongst other things, our labor relations framework and a whole range of other things like that. So The problem with that is that, and then you have a huge middle class that's almost like excluded from the growth that we've experienced over the last couple of years. So you need to deal with all of that. Yeah. Now, how do you deal with that? In part, I think, in the short term, you must deal with unemployment. And in the short term, I think your unemployment is unskilled and can only be accommodated in the low production sectors, low labor-intensive production sectors.
This is the 50% youth unemployment you refer to in the book.
So somehow I think for the next 10 years, your government should work out some rigorous and vibrant incentive scheme and program to stimulate labor-intensive sectors of the economy. Not in just a small measure, to really massively go and improve that. Now, what that includes, I don't know, but it might include wage subsidies, it might include a whole range of other things that we think about. And just investing.
When you say wage subsidies, that is like telling companies to hire people and then government will pay them a subsidy
to support them and so on and so on. Or it might include a whole infrastructure subsidies, it might include incentives, it might include all sorts of things. You need to work it out. I'm not definitive about what that will entail.
In terms of sector, how much of that would be in agriculture, for example?
A lot of it. A lot of it should be in agriculture. A lot of it should be raising the level of the textile and garment manufacturing incentives that you have. Raise the level of that and so on and so on to kind of really, in a robust way, grow the economy in those areas. Of course, other part of it is that short-term technical training programs to actually ensure that you strengthen technical skills across the economy. And of course, you need to build for high production levels in terms of high skills and stuff like that. So I'm saying there's something that you need to do almost in a kind of massive way to massify employment in areas where you don't have employment currently.
How do you balance that imperative of creating the jobs, which is so necessary, with competitiveness of South Africa's agricultural processing sectors, manufacturing and so on, given the damage that has been done to the textile sector over the last 20 years in terms of imports?
You do need both, actually, as I'm saying. You do need both. They already, my view is that, if you look at the automotive sector, it's well-organized incentive program, highly competitive globally and so on and so on. You need to kind of use the same model in other sectors, find mechanism of using that model in other sectors and extend it to other sectors where you need high skills, you need improve your balance of payments and so on and so on and so on. So that needs to happen, and in many ways it's happening, but also improve, incentivize companies to put money in innovation. And research, because I think that's another thing that we need to increase around that.
How do you do that? Give them tax breaks and things like that?
You could use a tax break. You could use, in other countries, government goes, if you take, for instance, what DTI once did on the electric car, they went together with the private sector, jointly invest in the research and innovation around that. Yeah. So you could have projects where government joins private sector in innovation and research in certain areas and so on and so on. So a lot of things could happen in that space very effectively. But again, we need to be targeted in what we do. It has to be outcomes driven. So we must be very clear about this is what we want to get out of what we're doing, and not have long-winded and unfocused projects and programs.
That's all for this week. Thanks again for listening. You can sign up to our newsletter on our website, theafricareport.com, and a special welcome to those of you who signed up to receive our Top 500 Company Rankings download. Great to have you on board, and if you yourself are interested in getting that download, then please get in touch. You can follow us on Twitter and on Facebook at The Africa Report, and I am at Nick Mobrook. That's all from us. Thanks for listening.